Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Nelson, and I'll be reading some disclaimers before we get started today. There is a recording disclosure, so please note that we are recording this workshop. If you would rather be incognito, please turn off your camera and change your name or remove your name. We are not recording content from any breakout sessions. We also have closed captioning. You may notice at the top of your screen a red button that says live on Zoom with rev.com. This is our live closed captioning service, and it does not mean we are live streaming video anywhere publicly. We ask participants to honor our comfort agreements for the conference, which can be found on page 6 of your conference program or listed on the Peerpocalypse website. And if at any time you need peer support, please visit www.peerpocalypse.com for a list of the on-call peer support specialists. And we ask participants to keep themselves on mute. And if you have questions or comments for the presenter, please use the chat box. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Kathryn.
Emily. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. This morning, we are going to be talking about peer supporting others and navigating the child welfare system and how our peer mentors can learn transferable skills and living experiences to help others in similar situations. My name is Kathryn Brock. I am one of the lead social workers for the New Mexico Family Advocacy Program. I am going to facilitate today, but our parent mentors are going to be the presenters. So I would like to pass it on to our team to introduce themselves. Queva.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Queva Hubbard. I am the Parent Mentor Coordinator for the New Mexico Family Advocacy Program.
Good morning. My name is Kathryn Pavelski, and I am a Parent Mentor with the New Mexico Family Advocacy Program.
My name is Gabiella, and I'm a parent mentor with the New Mexico Family Advocacy Program.
Good morning. I am Andrea Gunderson. I'm one of the lead attorneys in the New Mexico Family Advocacy Program.
Thank you, ladies. So the New Mexico Family Advocacy Program, our mission is to provide parents in child and welfare cases or child welfare cases with an interdisciplinary team, which includes a lawyer, a social worker, and a parent mentor, so that families are given the proper advocacy and support for reunification and other preferred outcomes. Mexico Family Advocacy Program started here in one county as a pilot program in New Mexico in 2013, and we've slowly been growing throughout the state. We're in 3 different counties now in New Mexico, and we're hoping to branch out here within the next couple of years. Right now, we are funded as of 2018 through a grant with the Children's Bureau that should run through 2023. We're hoping that we get a little extension because of the impacts of COVID, but that's yet to be seen. The biggest pieces of our program and our advocacy through the interdisciplinary team is working on the 4 cornerstones, which include conferences, visits, service plans, and placement. We really advocate strongly on those 4 subjects to help move cases along in the child welfare system. I'm going to pass it on to Andrea now to talk a little bit about the role of the attorney in our program.
Thanks, Kathryn. So as the attorney, we are assigned to represent one parent in a legal case. And so when we're assigned on that, we normally, before this program started, we were representing the parent legally, but also trying to fill those roles of a counselor or social worker or somebody who could be there to listen, a sounding board. And that was difficult because we didn't have that special training that social workers or that experience that parent mentors have. And so we weren't really doing that justice, but we had to try. So in this program, we represent the parent in the legal case, and we have the social worker and the parent mentor to kind of provide that support outside of the courtroom and inside of the courtroom. We are one of the team members, not in any hierarchical manner at all. All of us come to this team with that special expertise that we have in order to help the family, help the parent, and essentially the family all at once. So while we have a social worker and a parent mentor, that allows the attorney to really advocate in the courtroom, to focus on drafting motions and filing motions that may need to be filed. And we just also always try to meet with the team so that we can all be on the same page whenever we're doing anything, making any decisions in the case, whether they're legal decisions or clinical decisions. We all really have that open communication so that we can all be presenting and representing the parent in the best way possible.
And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the role of the social worker. On the case, and part of the team, we are the clinical case management people. We are the behavioral experts on the case. We do the assessments of our clients and really try to assess for strengths and needs, and then refer out to meet those. We provide intermittent psychotherapy because sometimes it's very hard to get clients into appropriate services out here in New Mexico. There are limited providers. And so in between, we're doing that psychotherapy piece, but we are not the therapists. We are also in constant communication with whomever the providers are, the therapists or the parenting coaches or whomever is involved in the case. That way we can know and understand what they are working on in the clinical setting to help our clients put that into action in the real world setting. So if they're working on coping skills or relapse prevention while talking to their therapist in the therapeutic setting in that office, they're not able to put that into practice. If we as the social workers on the case understand what they're working on in therapy, then we can help them when that comes up, when they're outside of that, use those coping skills and put them to practice and really make those behavioral changes that we're looking for. We work on harm reduction and crisis management is one of our biggest pieces. We are not employees, we are all contractors. We don't have an 8 to 5 schedule. So that gives us the flexibility to be with our clients and work with our clients when they need us. And that really helps us build trust and rapport. So if my client is having a crisis, I'm going to go and meet them where they're at, help them work through that crisis, teach them the skills to manage that crisis a little bit better the next time. So maybe it's not a crisis. Maybe they're able to work through it. I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Queva, who is the parent-mentor coordinator, as she said before. And as I said, we as the social workers on the team are the behavioral and mental health specialists, but our peer mentors are the life specialists, and they're the ones that we really lean on for that piece.
Thank you, Kathryn. So I will discuss the roles of a peer mentor, which we also are called parent mentors. You also may have heard the term peer advocate. Those are all the same role, it's just that, different names. So one of the things that a peer mentor in our organization do is we are a door opener. Having those conversations with the social worker on the team, the attorney on the team, and discussing what are some needs of the parent? What does that look like? Advocating for the parent as far as the needs, being present to attend trainings so we can get more information as far as the resources for our parents, and making sure that our parents are at a position to be able to walk through those doors by themselves and sometimes with support. We practice role modeling by attending court hearings. We show our parents, a way to listen and not respond until it's appropriate, right? We don't want to minimize how our parents are feeling, but we just show them, there's a time and there's a way to get their concerns or their questions out. We attend outside meetings with them, And we also go over responses on how to respond to being upset, being hurt, or being ashamed. We role model how to counteract those feelings and put them in a place to where they come out to where it's motivation and not just being suppressed. We communicate and relate to our clients. Like I said, like Kathryn said, we're the ones with the lived experience. And so we come from a background of our children going through the child welfare systems. And so we understand all those emotions. We understand when you have a question and you're so ashamed to ask one question to where it makes you upset. And so you want to pull back. So we communicate that with our parents, and we communicate that with the team as well, of what that looks like. So we all as a team can support our parent in getting that information out. We help our clients with their living skills. As you all know, that when the children go into custody, things change. Food stamps will be minimized. Sometimes their housing is affected, their jobs are affected. And so we make sure that our parents are still able to be successful. And also when the children come back home, things change. Being away from your children for a while, you don't have to go to the grocery store and, buy the important things. You can just go shop for you, or even getting up and taking your kids to school. We support our parents in making sure they understand that this has to be something, that they work on, and we support them in making those skills consistent. We provide support in all aspects of the case. We support in crisis intervention. We do not diagnose. We have clinicians like Kathryn, and we have a legal expert on the team. And so we make sure that we support in other areas throughout the case. And so Gabiella will speak on that a little bit later of what that support looks like. We do role playing on how to respond when you're upset. If you have a question as a parent, when is it appropriate to ask, and what is the wording that you will use? We connect with community service. Like I stated, we are all in contact with some type of resource in the community, and we come together to make sure our parents have those connections. Make sure as a team we are sharing those connections with each other in case if my parent doesn't need it, Kathryn's parent may need it, or Gabiella's parent may need it, but we make sure that we share those resources so our parents can always have the opportunity to be a part of that. We practice effective problem solving with our parents. We do not tell our parents what to do, how to do it, or when to do it. If there's an issue or if there's a problem, we talk it over with our parents, and we give our parents the opportunity to, problem solve themselves. Because we've learned that when parents have the idea or the suggestions on how to get through something, they take more pride in achieving those goals. And especially when it comes to problem solving, because then it seems like it's not as big of an issue that you made it to be if you're able to, successfully get through it, especially if it was your idea. Housing resources, we do not provide housing, but we, like I said, in the community services, we reach out to any type of a resource within the community that's providing housing, hotel stays, Section 8 county housing, whatever's available. We make sure to always keep our parents on that list. We have uncomfortable conversations, which I believe is one of the most important things as a parent mentor. Our parents feel sometimes that there is so much that others may not understand. And as a parent mentor, we can have that conversation with the parent. We can ask our parent, hey, I'm kind of, seeing some things going on, what's up? Or maybe even asking our parent, do you feel like, continue to fight for your children is something that you want to do? And a lot of times our parents are thinking the things, they just don't want to say them because they don't want to feel like they're giving up. I will discuss later in my story of what that looks like, having that uncomfortable conversation and being in that position to want to give up, but not having anyone to talk to about it. We are bridge builders and also bridge walkers. I use the example that if a bridge is up, the social worker and the attorney is on one side, the parent and the parent mentor is on the other side. We are not against each other, but as a parent mentor, we support our parents in making sure that they have the motivation, the confidence to cross that bridge. We hold their hand, we support them, we encourage them. And the role is not for us to get them to a position to where we're constantly at a hand holding, but to where they can be independent and they can become successful on their own. And they can have those conversations with their attorney, with their social worker, with the department. And so these are the roles of a parent mentor.
Gabriella, want to take over the next slide? Uh-oh, did we lose Gabriella? We may have lost her, Queva. You want to take this one?
She's here. Gabriella, can you?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there
Yes,
you
we
are.
can.
Hi, okay, sorry about that. Okay, so a parent peer mentor can address irrational beliefs the parent has working with a social worker or a lawyer. Parents can feel more in control and participate more effectively in critical decision makings if they know more about the child welfare system. So basically we would go over, the process, maybe meet with the client prior to a hearing, prior to meetings, and go over, what the process may be, if they have any feelings or concerns that we could, go over and talk about and address those things. Maybe they can be, upset. We can just discuss it and, have the client be more calm and understand a little bit more, because it's scary, it's frustrating, not knowing like what's going to happen next, where are my children, and just voicing maybe ideas like with family where their children can be, helping what their kids like to eat, or what helps them sleep, and addressing that wherever the children may be staying, either with the foster parents, with CYFD, or with family. Irrational thinking, sometimes we could think, the department just wants to keep my kids and I'm the best mom, I didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes I think the department just wants my kids to make money off my kids, and some things like that are the irrational thinking errors.
And I want to talk a little bit about the I'm not going to tell on you, I'm going to tell with you. So a big piece of being a part of the legal team is that we're under the confidentiality of the attorney, so under the attorney-client privilege. And so when things are going on with our clients, we're not going to tell anybody about it. First of all, because we have that that confidentiality, and then second, because we really want to build the trust of our clients. But we are going to work with them on being able to come to the department and say, yes, I relapsed, right? This is what happened, and this is how I'm going to move forward on that. And so we're not very telling on, we're going to tell with. I think that we are now, oh no, we got one more. I think this is you as well, Gabriella.
No, this one was me.
Oh, sorry, Kathy.
The sudden loss of a child can be an experience of grief, terror, and shame. Sometimes in these situations, when children are removed from their home, the parents can act in a way that people may not understand. And it's because of the fear or the humiliation they're feeling, the shame that they're feeling. They may not reach out to the department. We may be unable to find them. There's so many things. And as a parent mentor, we can relate to all of those feelings because we have been there. We're not just someone saying, I know what you're going through. Like, we have been in those shoes. So we're able to identify with that shame and with that feeling of hopelessness or whatever that is. And we're able to get the parents to engage with us in a way that sometimes the social worker and attorney don't have the same kind of luck because they have not been in that situation. And so we're able to work with the parents on a different level and kind of get them to then work with their attorney and the social worker. And like how Queva was saying, build a bridge so that we're all working together.
So as a parent mentor, we do practice team approach. And some of those things that we practice, excuse me, is sharing ideas of achieving goals, drawing on personal experience. So as As a parent mentor team and with the social workers, we do staff cases. We do not release any information as far as name, gender, case number, any of that. But it's more of, hey, I have this parent who's going through human trafficking, and I don't, is there any experience that you can give me, any ideas on how to, support her in this, any places that you know of. So we share those ideas with the team, because on some cases we do not have parent mentors because we are limited. And so we give a different insight to the social workers when we're meeting with them, also to the attorneys as well. We are very open to sharing our stories on many platforms, as you will hear later in the presentation. And so our experience is really one of a kind, but it's important that we know that it was something that made us who we are today. And with that, we are standing in a position to be able to support other parents, other women, other men who are going through the same thing. And so we're very open to sharing those ideas and those goals. We actively participate in team meetings, like I stated before, with the social workers. We also participate in meetings with the attorneys as well. We meet constantly as a team. We do not share information outside of that team. It's just between the team in itself as far as the information, but we also are on different teams as well, teams that are with the judicial system as far as practicing self-care or the grievance process or whatever that looks like. We participate in all those teams, and as a parent mentor team itself, we meet by ourselves, because we understand that as a group we may be going through things that the whole organization may not understand. And so I can go to Kathryn or Gabriella and say, hey, I was a little triggered by this. Did anybody else get that feeling? And it'll make me feel a little bit better to know that I'm not doing this alone. Or I may have some ideas that I kind of want to bounce off of them of how I want to, build rapport with my parent or interact, or maybe even find my parent. We work together to facilitate interdisciplinary team approach. Like I said before, everything is shared within that legal team and that legal team only. If I have an idea, I'll run it past the social worker and the attorney, and we all talk about it. We talk about it with the parent. We don't do anything without the parent's approval as far as case-wise. And so everything is team approach. We act within our limits of capacity and authority. As individuals of lived experience, our parents are likely to, talk to us more because they feel like, okay, this person can relate. I can tell her and I won't feel judged. But we are very mindful of the things that we respond to. We do not give clinical advice. We do not give legal advice. We do not give medical advice. If it's anything outside of our scope of work, we are very careful in our wording of telling our parents, I understand what you're feeling, but I think that's a question for Andrea. How about we contact her? Or I understand, you're feeling like you're depressed or you're having bipolar symptoms. I can't tell you what that means, but maybe we should contact Kathryn and she can kind of walk us through the steps in order to get you the support that you need. So we model personal responsibility, self-awareness, self-belief, self-advocacy, and hopefulness. We are very aware of what our body is telling us, like I said in the team meetings. Being individuals who have come from different backgrounds, incarceration, drug addiction, homelessness, sometimes, working with the parent, we do get triggered. And so we're very open to having that conversation as a team of how that is affecting us, or what the steps look like, or what kind of support that we need, because we don't want to be burned out in supporting our parents and not having self-awareness of how this is affecting us. So we're very open to having those conversations as far as our own self on how to make sure that we are advocating for self to say, hey, this is affecting me. Maybe I should talk to one of the social workers to see how I can get a different thought process of things, or maybe I'm just assuming too much. We practice self-care. Like I said, having those conversations of self-awareness is important, because as a coordinator, I always encourage the women to always take time off and do self-care. I mean, we can't do the work if we're not at 100%, right? And we all know that as practitioners and providers. Confidentiality, that is the key to this whole program. By us being a legal team, confidentiality is important. Nothing can be shared about our parents, about the case, period. Unfortunately, we do work with the department, but we do not tell the department anything because, like Kathryn stated earlier, that information is for our parents to build growth, not to be used against them. And so we're very strict as far as confidentiality. If we were, and as a parent mentor, right, we go to a lot of outside sources with our parents. And we've learned that we don't even introduce ourselves as a parent mentor. We have the conversation with our parents of, when we get in here, what would you like me to say my role is? Because it's important that our parents feel like they go somewhere with the parent mentor. Someone can say, oh, they got their kids took, right? So we're very conscious of what we say in public as a support for our parents, because we do want to remain confidential and making sure that no one is knowing their information.
I want to add to the confidentiality. For every case that we get that is filed and assigned to us, there is a court order for each of us that is then filed with the court. So we are court ordered to each case, and then each of us signs an affidavit that shows that we understand those limits of confidentiality. We are also all mandated reporters. So if there is a situation where the children are at home on trial home visit, or someone happens to have a child that's not a part of the case, and there are unsafe practices happening in the home, then we will make those calls to SCI, to the central intake for CYFD here in New Mexico. We will make those calls with our clients if that's what they so choose, but we'll give them that option. Hey, this is what's going on. I need to make this call. And again, the open and honestness throughout the team is the openness and honesty is what is really key to building the trust with our clients. Kathy.
We attend all team meetings with the parent. We attend meetings at the department. We attend all court hearings. And prior to COVID, that meant that we would go in with the parent, the social worker, and the attorney, and we would all sit at the table together to be there to support the parent. Now, because of COVID, sometimes the social worker will be there with the parent while we're doing court over Zoom or Google Meets or whatever platform that is. Sometimes the social worker will be with the parent, or the parent mentor will be with the parent, depending just on what the situation calls for. We go to any meetings at CYFD, we go to any school meetings, or any meetings with any practitioner where the parent wants us to attend. We let them know that we're there to support them, and if they would like us to be there, we can definitely go.
Thank you, Kathy. And I wanted to point out something that I didn't before, but parent mentors and social workers cannot testify on any cases because we are part of the legal team. And so that's another benefit that we have on those cases. We can't be called in any way to testify. And Gabriella?
Kathryn, can I say something about the team meetings?
Sure.
Kathryn touched base on us attending these meetings. We attend these meetings with our parent as a support, as an encouragement, and we also practice those roles that I talked about earlier of role playing, how to ask those questions, you know, building their confidence so they feel comfortable to be in that setting, because it's very embarrassing, right? To know that everyone at the table knows that what you're going through and that your family is dealing with this trauma. And so we have the conversation with our parents of what that's going to look like, right? Because we don't want them to go and think that, you know, they're alone or feel like they have to hold their head down. And so we are a huge support when those meetings arise.
Thank you, Queva.
Thank you. Advocacy in all forms seeks to ensure that parents, particularly those who are most vulnerable in society, are able to have their voice heard on issues that are important and express the views and concerns. You know, maybe the client.
Gabriella, lean in a little bit. Yeah, then we can hear you better.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah,
okay.
Thank you.
So having their voices heard on issues that are important and express their views and concerns. You know, some parents are working or they have, you know, counseling and stuff. And so addressing and helping them voice that these are the times that work for me to have visits. I work on these days, I work at this time, these days will work better at this time. And so helping them address those and voice them and being stern, you know, and the things that work for them. With the department, accessing information and services, maybe they would, you know, already have something in place, or if they need like a bus pass, helping them do a bus route, you know, going on the bus with them and learning it with them, finding if they need the bus pass and where to get it, if they need food boxes, help them get that, if they want to go to church or do, you know, some grief group or just any kind of outside services that they might think they feel that would help them, and addressing that with the department on, you know, maybe this will work better for me, and addressing those things, defending and promote parents' rights and responsibilities. When we get our, you know, we have to do, when we get our children's taken, we have to do, you know, a treatment plan, and just going over it with them, like, you know, this is what the department expects of us to do. This is a time frame on when we have to do it, and just going over it with them. And also about the parents' rights. Their rights to their visits with their children is a right. It's not a privilege. It's not something that they have to earn. It's something that is a right to them. They have the right to see their kids, and the same thing with their children. Explore choices and options. Like I elaborated before on the first bulletin, that maybe if they want a faith-based counseling or faith-based church that they would want to utilize, as you know, some churches do groups, some do, you know, volunteer work, and maybe if they can fit that into the treatment plan, and exploring those different options that the parent may feel that best fits them, and addressing it with the department to go on to the treatment plan.
Thank you. I want to ask Queva, do you have any examples of specific advocacy that you've been able to do on a case?
Yes, I do. So I was working a case where mom was recently, she had recently gotten out of treatment, and I was on a meeting with the social worker from NMFAP, which is our program, and the CYFD worker. And we were discussing some concerns that the department is having, and the approach that the department was going to take towards the mom. So knowing, by me being in treatment before and knowing some of the tools, you know, I kind of spoke up on how to get that information to mom, so she can understand that, you know, these things that I'm going through can be a lesson. And in treatment, those of us who are in treatment, sometimes you're in treatment, is so much information in the back of your head, you think, I'll never use this, right? But I told the PPW, how about we make this a lesson for her? Encourage her. Let's bring out those tools. And some of the things that she's done or she is doing, let's identify those as some tools, right? Or as some thinking errors, so she can put a name to some of the issues that she's going through. And it'll make more sense to her. And then she knows how to support herself in that. It's just not about, you know, scolding her or telling her that she's doing wrong, but encouraging her and showing her, hey, I know that you learned this in treatment, grandiose thinking, right? So how about we discuss what that looks like and how you're using that thinking process to encounter situations that you're dealing with right now. And so the department actually used that, and they were able to build a better rapport with mom. And mom came back to me and she was like, hey, I practiced this and I learned this and I remember this from treatment. And it was so encouraging for her to know that, okay, she retained some of that information and she's used it to move forward as far as, you know, fighting for her children.
Thank you, Queva. So I think at this point in our presentation, we're going to take a 5-minute break, which we were told this morning we need to add in. So I think we will come back at when, Emily, like 10:40, or I don't know what time it is. In 5 minutes. I don't know where anybody is.
Yeah, so 5 minutes would put Pacific time at 9:40, Mountain time 10:40, and I'm so sorry, I don't know Eastern time or Central time right now. But yes, 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to Gabriella telling her story.
Hi again, my name is Gabriella. So my involvement with CYFD took place in 2013. I was struggling with addiction, codependency, domestic violence. I was also on probation. So at the time of 2013, I was incarcerated for a probation violation. At that time,
Gabriella, can you move closer?
At that time, I was called out into the case manager's office and had a call with CYFD. And in that phone call, they advised me or informed me that my husband was there's an altercation between my husband and another male, and that my husband was shot and killed in front of my 6-year-old son at the time. There was also other issues going on, with abuse of my child by that other male that had killed my husband. At that time, CYFD came in and served me paperwork that not only that all these things happened, but also that I had, neglected and abandoned my son because I was in custody. His dad was dead in the street, and my son, at the time 6 years old, was by himself. So I didn't get out for a while, I think maybe 3 weeks. I was able to address some concerns and safety concerns about my child. And instead of going with family members or, with my mom or with his dad's family, I thought that the best interest was to keep him safe and that he stay with the foster parent that he was with, an unknown relative. And so I was able to voice that and address those things, that his safety came first. I then was released on CCP, which is, I'm still in custody, but I'm able to go home on a monitor. I was able to go to court and work my treatment plan with CYFD. And then I was also going into treatment for 6 months while my son did his treatment. The option with him going to treatment was an option, but the severity of the case, it was just best that he work on his things and me be a part of, and then me work on my barriers that I needed to work on, and he be able to come see me and work together in therapy. Me wanting to come into this role as a parent mentor and helping my next peers on this path was I had no idea what CYFD was. I didn't know what was expected. I didn't know anything about CYFD and what they did besides just take our kids is what I heard and what I thought is what they did. And so, I had a lot of support from the department, from the foster mom, from my attorney in the process of my case, which was very, very helpful. They helped me, understand the process and what I needed. They allowed me to voice my concerns, what I thought was best for my child and for myself. And so me experiencing that, I know a lot of clients don't have that. They don't have the department full support or the foster parents full support or understanding. And so I was able to experience that. And so I know that is there. I know that the department is able to support. I know there's foster parents that are able to support who do understand, because I've experienced that. And I just want to make sure that, my clients can experience that too, because that was the major thing was the support from all the department, from the foster parents to the attorney. I didn't have a social worker or a parent mentor, which would have probably been a lot better than trying to get support from the department or the foster parents. And so that's why I took on this role, is to help my peer on this journey. Okay, so support for housing. We help the parents, look in for housing. We ask the department if they're on reunification, the PPW will put in the packet. We get all the documentations that they need. They need their birth certificates, the social security cards. They need a lot of things for even vocational and legal, just to help them get into those services. You need our documentations and going and filling those applications out, taking them if we need to transport them, if they want us to attend, an assessment for the housing, we do the BISPID app for them. Like the legal, we meet them before any hearings, we sit with them, and if they have any concerns, maybe before COVID, if they didn't have anything to wear, we would have, clothing, we can go get clothing, finding those resources for them to be prepared and, look presentable for their hearings. We teach them about coping skills, some of our clients need more assistance in, cooking or cleaning and just daily living, those, just to help them be more secure and confident, like not to have to ask, but just, just to go over it with certain things, mental health, if they need to go to, counseling, or if they have ideas of maybe I want to do acupuncture, I know this helps, or if they maybe want to do an MAT program, we find those resources for them and help them advocate what they want to do, what they fit is best to be a better, person, parent, mother, sister, child, just to be productive and successful. We help them be more secure and confident in those areas, not just to be a parent or a person or a mom.
Thank you, Gabriella. Kathryn.
Again, my name is Kathryn Pavelski. I began working with the New Mexico Family Advocacy Program in late 2019. My story, though, with the child welfare system started in 2010. I was dealing with drugs. I was living in a home where I did not have running water. I did not have legal electricity. I did not have gas. I was in a situation where I was not caring adequately for my children. My children were removed from my custody, and shortly after that, I ended up going to jail because I was on probation and I had dirty UAs. So I was in jail for a few months. During that time, I didn't know what was going on with my kids. I didn't know where they were. I didn't get to see them. I ended up going to rehab. I got out of rehab, came home, got a job, was doing my treatment plan, was going to counseling, therapy with my kids, whatever the department said that I had to do, I was doing it. I was also involved in a relationship with domestic violence that at the time I did not understand was domestic violence because it was not physical at that time. It was mental and emotional and controlling, but I didn't understand that all of those things were domestic violence. I subsequently stayed in the relationship with this man. I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing. I got my children home. I had them home for a few months, and my ex-husband and my boyfriend were in a fight, and my ex-husband ended up dead. I did not go to the department initially with my knowledge of that. I did not go to the police department. I was really, really afraid to lose my children. My case went on for a few more months, or for a few more years. I mean, all these things came out about my ex-husband's murder, and just there was so much trauma and so much stuff going on in my case. And it was hard for me to be able to deal with just one thing because there was so many things, and I didn't know how to handle all of them, and I didn't know how to ask for help, and I didn't know that me reaching out to the department for help would be seen as a good thing and not a bad thing. Circumstances at the time when my case was going on did not lead to me being reunified with my children, and my rights were terminated. At that time, I felt hopeless, and I felt like giving up for a moment, but I also felt like I had made so much progress in all this time, and I had fought so hard and come so far. I had been clean. By the time my case was ending and my rights were terminated, I had been clean for almost 5 years. And I was not going to give that up. And during that time, when I was feeling hopeless, I also felt like I did not go through all that for nothing. I did not lose custody of my children for nothing. So in 2019, when my old attorney came to me and asked if I would be a parent mentor in this program, first I asked her if she forgot that I did not get my children back because I did not know how I could be helpful when I didn't get my children back. And she explained to me that even though at that time I did not get my children back, that there was huge progress that I had made and that I could be helpful to someone else. And she asked me to think about it. And she also asked me if I would be part of a Children's Law Institute conference and talk about my experience with the department. And I said yes. And she asked me again about the parent mentor, and she asked me to think about it. And I said yes. And she said, no, I want you to think about it. And I was like, no, I'll do it. Yes, I want to. And so she told me that Queva would be contacting me, and then we would go from there. And it has been the most amazing experience. I have learned so much about trauma and about addiction and about just myself and my own growth. And I've learned how to use the computer, which I did not know how to do before. I've learned how to make a PowerPoint, which I totally did not know how to do before. There's so many things that I have learned that are not just the things that you would think that are obvious, right? There's so many other things that I have learned. And I have learned that I can be a voice for other parents, even though I didn't think that I could. So this has been a really, really positive experience for me. And I'm so grateful for it. So being a parent mentor, we can really relate with these parents because we do know exactly what they're going through. We have all been there where we have had our children removed from our custody for one reason or another for some period of time, right? And so we can be empathetic with the parents and not in a way where we feel bad for them, but where we know how that feels, right? Because feeling sorry for someone is different than feeling empathy for them. We listen to them, we encourage them, we let them know when they're having a question and they're unsure of if they can say that or not, or if they should bring it up. We tell them, absolutely, that's your voice. Yes, you absolutely should bring that up. We give the parents a choice to receive our lived experience, because sometimes, we don't want to hear from other people, but sometimes because the parents know that we have gone through that, they'll ask us questions about, how did you feel when your children were removed? How did you feel when you had to go to these meetings? How did it feel when finally you were making progress even, And we allow the parent to give us their point of view. We don't ever tell them, no, this is what you have to do, or this is how you should feel, but we let them express their voice to us.
Kathryn, do you have a specific example that you can tell us about when you worked on a case and you were able to really get into that relational piece with the client?
So when I was going through my case, I was really stubborn and I was really defiant because I was afraid. And because I was so afraid and defiant, they just thought like, oh, she doesn't want to do it. She's just being a bee. I don't know how another way to say that, but it was because I was so scared. Being fearful of losing your children that's a fear like no other. To have someone say, to have the thought that your children may not go back home with you is a fear like no other. And so I was able to work with a parent. She had a case prior to her case right now. And during that case, she felt like there was things that were done that she didn't feel like were fair, right? So now here we are a year later, and she's going through not exactly the same situation, but again, having her children removed. But she was so hung up on things that had happened a year ago that that's all she would focus on. And so the things that were going on right now, she was kind of putting on the back burner. So I just kept asking her, the ABCs. What did her action, her belief, and the consequence, right? So what actions was she doing? And what did she believe the consequence of those actions were going to be? And she just was like fighting that old thing, the old thing. And then finally she was able to realize, like, I'm putting all this effort into something that happened a year ago, and it's holding me back from focusing on what's going on right now. And I had been trying to hint at that, and I didn't just come out and say it because she needed to realize that on her own. And so we just kept working on it. And it wasn't something that she, like, right away was like, oh, look at what I'm doing. It did take time. And it was weeks of like, okay, how is that helping you now? Okay, what are you doing? And how is that helping you now? But how is that helping you now? You know, right? And it was a little bit like, asking her over and over. But then one day she was the one that was like, do you know that I'm spending all this time focusing on this and it's not helping me? And I was like, yeah. And I didn't just tell her, yeah, I know. But I was like, I asked her, like, how does it feel that you realize that now? And she was like, I've been putting all this effort into this and it's not even something that I need to worry about right now. And I was like, I know. But it was so rewarding that she was able to work through that on her own, and that I had even had like a small piece of that.
That's a great example. Thank you, Kathy. I'm going to pass it on to Queva to give us a little bit about her story.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome back from the break. I'm Queva Hubbard. So my story began in 2008. I was dealing with some severe addiction, severe domestic violence. I was just all over the place. And unfortunately, I had my children in the middle of it. Due to my house being raided, me being a part of some illegal activity, my children were taken into custody. At that time, like I stated, I was full blown addict, and I wanted my kids back and I wanted to fight for them. I would attend the visits, but I wouldn't know what to say. I wouldn't know how to say things. When meetings were scheduled, I would attend them, but I would attend them with so much shame and so much aggression because I didn't know what the next steps looked like. I didn't know what the people were asking me to do because it felt like they had took my kids in order to make me comply with other things that was going on in my life. That was my thought process. I thought this was like this thing that was they were using my kids over my head. And so that was not the case. But at that time, that's how I seen things. And I didn't have a parent mentor, a peer advocate, a peer support worker to go and say, hey, I just don't get it. So instead, I just backed away. I walked away from my children. I chose not to fight because I didn't feel supported. I didn't feel like I was, strong enough to even be their mom. So much had happened. I was dealing with so much. And the thought process was maybe if I just put the attention towards a man, right? Or towards the person that I'm choosing to be with at this time, it'd take the void away from me not having my children. But it only led me down a deeper hole. So I went in and out of jail, dealing with the addiction as well. And it got worse for me. It had been years since I had spoke to my children, and they were separated. One was in Georgia and the other was in the same hometown I was in, but I didn't have, any communication with them. So my last incarceration stay was kind of lengthy. And from there, I just knew that I was ready. I was tired. I had gotten older. I was getting pictures from my family from when they seen my children, and they was, sending me pictures, and it was like, I don't even know who these kids are anymore. And so I told myself right then and there that I had to change. So I enrolled in a treatment program inside the facility. And within that program, I learned so much about myself that I wasn't to blame for something that I didn't know about, something that no one ever stopped to slow down and say, hey, do you understand what we're saying to you? Do you get it? Do you have any questions? It was just like I was in meetings with all these professionals and they were saying all these professional words. And I wasn't going to say, I don't understand, or I wasn't going to say I'm against that, because these are the people who's holding my kids, right? So After incarceration, I enrolled in another treatment because I felt like I needed more assistance. And from there, I just got this courage to fight for my kids. About 2 years after incarceration, my kids was reunified back with me. And so since then, it's been a struggle. I just remember when my oldest came home first, I had no idea how to go grocery shopping. I had no idea on what the things that was healthy for her because, no one ever had that conversation with me on how to parent or what happens when she's acting out or she's saying these things to me that are so hurtful, but it's her feelings of how she felt when we were separated. I had no support in going through that. And so I reached out to a mentor of mine and I told her, I said, hey, I feel like I need more help with trying to get back on track with being a parent. So I did this platform on social justice, and past ex coworker that I work with, she's seen it, and so from there it's been up. I knew that there was an opportunity for me to be a support to other parents that are going through the same thing that I've gone through, who don't understand what's being said to them, who feel lost in the system, and who just want to give up, right? There's nothing wrong with the parents saying, right now, I can't do this. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's important that the parent understands that it's okay to say that, and it's okay to have a down day, but it's also okay to get back up and dust yourself off. And whatever that looks like, we don't encourage that our parents to go fight for their kids. We encourage our parents to do what's best for them. And if that means, sending your kids with a family member or, giving up your guardianship, we're going to support our parents in that, because it's not our place to say what's best for any family because we don't know that, right? And so now here we are today, and I've dedicated, my career to being an advocate for parents who are going through the same thing that all three of us ladies have talked about. I'm currently in school to be a social worker because I do feel like it doesn't stop there. There needs to be more advocating for parents throughout New Mexico, throughout Oregon, but not only social workers who can say, hey, I learned this in school, but a social worker can say, I've been there, I've done that, I get it. Let's get through this together. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm a parent mentor today. So we have a couple bullets that we talked about. Gabriella talked about support. Kathryn talked about relate. And so I'm going to talk about affirm and what affirm looks like when working with the parent. So we know that when working with our parents, small successes does matter. Even just getting up and attending an appointment, we're going to say, hey, that was great. Like, good job of getting there on time. Because that small thing may be what our parents need that morning just to make it to the next appointment. Or even just to say, I'm going to continue to keep going, right? But we also are very mindful of what we're saying to our parents when we're giving the affirmation, because some parents feel like they should not be being praised for something that they should be doing when they don't have their children. And so we're very clear on what that looks like. We have conversation of, okay, so if you were to attend all these meetings and you've attended all court hearings, would you like me to give you a high five, give you a nudge, or would you prefer that, it's just a silent wink? Because we don't want to offend anyone in their journey. We want them to know that we support you. And if that means just giving you the thumbs up, that's what it is. But if the parent says, no, I need that feedback, I need those affirmations, please encourage me. Oh, we're the biggest cheerleaders that there is, without the skirts, of course. We offer hope, reassurance, and encouragement. I can say working with the New Mexico Family Advocacy Program, it has taught me to have a softer heart when I'm encouraging someone, when I'm reassuring them. Because coming from those streets, you don't get that on the streets. No one walks up to you and says, hey, how you doing? Good job. It's negative, 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 negative. And so I've learned to be softer. I've learned that it's okay to encourage someone and say it to where you're not saying it and they want something in return, right? And also receiving encouragement from someone on the team as well. So we practice this in a trauma-informed manner, but we make sure that we're always having a conversation with our parents on what that looks like.
Thank you, Queva. So I want to take this opportunity now to talk a little bit about some of the advocacy that you ladies have been doing on the macro and meso levels. I know that you are all working really hard on policy change and on the state level and program policy changes. And so I think I'll talk to you, Kathy, first. I know that you had the opportunity this year to testify in front of the New Mexico State legislation to some legislators. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
During my case, I had to go to appeal. So I was given an attorney who was an appellate attorney, but his expertise was criminal cases, not children's court law. So he did not adequately represent me. So I got to go this year and speak before the legislature about parents having adequate legal representation for their cases and making sure that parents and children have adequate legal representation. So that was really, really cool.
That's amazing. Gabriella, I know that you do a lot of work with your church and some other Christian-based programs in the city of Albuquerque. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I do a lot of volunteer work. There's about 4 different churches, which is God's Warehouse, Elevate Ministries, Brothers and Sisters in Christ Ministries, that I go and make food boxes. We make hygiene packs. And we go out what's considered out here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, to be the worst part of the city, which they call it the war zone. And we go and give those food boxes out. We make food and we put them in containers and we give them out. Of course, we do prayer with them if they want it, if they ask. If not, we give what we have to them regardless. We tell them, whenever they're ready, if they just need food, they need resources, they need clothing. We're starting God's Warehouse to having like portable showers now, I think by the summer of next year. So they can come and shower and eat and just hang out, and if they want to hear the word and then they get it. If they don't, they can still come and eat and just sit with us and we sit with them. And so if my team needs, if I need a food box, I know where to get it. I can either, send them the resources or I can just get it for them and meet up with them and they can take it to whoever they need it for. I also go out to revivals. I go out of state and let them know what Albuquerque is doing and just being a resource to our community, to our state, and to other states as well.
You are definitely our go-to person for food boxes for our program. Queva, I know that you are on a bunch of different committees and you're a board member. Can you talk a little bit about your systems advocacy?
Yes, before I get into that, I just want to tell all the guests that we as parent mentors, we know that the work in the field with our parents is important. And so we are doing just that, but we've also understand that the work does not stop there. So we are part of these commissions, a part of these panels, a part of this planning outside, like Kathryn stated, on a macro level, because it doesn't stop there, just working with mom or dad. It has to start within a systematic change. And so we have placed ourselves in these positions to be a part of these committees so we can be the voice of the voiceless, because so many times we've seen that organizations are running off of old policies, right? Or old systems that there was no parent there to advocate on behalf of other parents. I just wanted to state that before I got into some of the things that I do as far as macro level advocacy. I'm a part of a systems care committee, which is it's a broad band of committees, but I'm specifically on the one of systems of care, because this is a document, it's writing documents for parents and what they need in order to advocate for themselves. On many instances, we hear about parents who have, which is the same as the parent grievance process, who have issues within the department and don't know how to say, hey, I feel like you judged me. I feel like, this is going on, because it's a sense of a retaliation is going to happen if I speak up. So as a parent, I sit on that committee and making sure that those parents feel supported, making sure that those parents understand what's being said, and also that the things that they're addressing will not be used against them as being titled as aggressive or non-compliant. I'm on the Family Representation Commission, which is a commission for the state of New Mexico. We are trying to get a building for interdisciplinary teams such as New Mexico Family Advocacy Program. And this is a huge thing in New Mexico because it is needed, not just in Albuquerque, within the rural communities as well. Having a one-stop shop for families to go to is important because it minimizes the transportation, right? It minimizes, I don't know how to get in contact with my attorney, or I need to sit down and talk to my social worker in a place where I feel comfortable, and us not having to meet them at Starbucks, right? And so with that commission, I speak on behalf of parents, and we all have done a part on that commission as well. And we just speak up as far as what that looks like when a parent has a question and when something needs to be changed. The Children's Court Improvement Early Intervention, this is probably my favorite one because this is the commission before the children are removed. What resources is being given to the parents? What is out there as far as how we can stop the children going into custody? Who are the individuals who are writing these affidavits? How can we get in contact with law enforcement so it's not their choice, but it's the choice of the department, and there's some type of support for that family before it gets to removal of the children. Again, we are so thankful to be on these committees. We were honored for us to be asked to be on these committees. It's a lot for us, but we know that that's part of our fight as well, not just with parents, but we also have to fight the systematic changes as well.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Queva. I want to point out that as the interdisciplinary team, the parent mentor and the social worker piece, we're not looking for parents to be perfect. We're looking for parents to be better than they were, right? To be good enough, because we know, like any of us that are parents know that there's no such thing as perfect parents. We are all messing it up on the daily. But how can we help our parents to just be better and to address the issues and the causes and conditions that brought the kiddos into care and to have those behavioral changes? I'm going to exit out of this and just ask for any questions to be posted into the chat. I know there's a lot of chat going on, but I don't know if there's anything that I need to know of in there. I want to ask a couple more questions. Kathy, so Queva mentioned earlier that when she was able to get her kiddos back, that there were all these functional things that she didn't know how to do, right? Like the Medicaid, the food stamps, the just shopping for her kiddos. How do you support your parents in developing those functional skills?
Well, first of all, we just ask them, what is it that they need help with, right? And then, so if it's that they've had issues with the Medicaid, then we can ask them, like, do you need to go to the Medicaid office? Do we need to take you there? Do you have all the documentation you need? And so then if there's issues with, they need certain documentation, we'll help them get that documentation, whatever that may be, right? And then just being there to walk them through the process, not do it for them, but be there with them to help them with it. Or like grocery shopping, we can help them sit down and make a list of like the things that they actually need, and not just like the sodas and chips that we just want, right? So we would sit and look at like what things they actually need for their house. If they need assistance with housing, we can help them find different avenues for that. So whatever their needs are, just helping them find those avenues.
Thank you. In the chat a while ago, Christina Gibson asked about if we were all from New Mexico and if each state has different laws to follow. So we are all based here in New Mexico in really the central part of Albuquerque in the Bernalillo County area. we are looking to, hopefully with some of the advocacy that we are doing, Queva talked about just a moment ago, to hopefully get this program to where it's statewide and we move throughout all counties here. But yes, every state is different. Every state's laws are different. Hopefully this interdisciplinary model will grow because, I mean, we all love it and we see the benefit of it. And we do think that it is, it's a social justice issue, right? Like really giving our clients those voices that they need. I want to ask Queva about how do you help parents address that bias that we see in the system? How do you help them move forward when they feel all of that judgment coming on them?
So one of the ways that I help the parents address the bias is having a conversation with them about how they're feeling, because it's very important that they identify their feelings first. I can't assume that they're upset. I can't assume that they're feeling a certain way. I want them to tell me how they feel, because that's one of the things as a parent, we don't get the option to do very much. Just say, hey, I felt a little uncomfortable in that meeting. And so that is the first thing that I do. And if they feel that they have been treated unfairly or if there is a bias, we talk about that. And so I have that conversation with the social worker and with the attorney of what the parent has stated and why they're feeling like this. And it's all factual based off of the parent's perspective. And if I have, kind of felt the same way, I will put my little 2 cents in, which I do a lot, but we talk about moving forth, how to support the parent. Even if that means that I have to go with every meeting with the parent, with the department, I'm going to go. So the parent feels like what they just heard is not something that they're just tripping on or that they're just assuming. And we discuss that after every meeting. How can we get past this to where we are still being productive in order to reach your goals? We don't want to minimize that, but we just want to stay persistent, right? And making sure that we're moving forth and we're tracking, because we can't change the way that someone thinks. That's we all know that. We can only change how we respond to it. And so role playing and role modeling with our parents of what that looks like, and it's unfortunate that we all have had to experience some type of bias towards us, but showing our parents that that does not define who you are. That does not stop you from continuing to fight for what you want to fight for. And so that is the biggest thing that we encourage our parents, not to minimize it, not to forget about it, but don't allow that to stop you. Keep going.
And I've been in meetings with you, Queva, where you've addressed those condescending and like overbearing remarks from the department, right? Like and you're really good at restating it, right? So that you're making a point to the department, this is not how we talk. Like, this is what she meant. And so very good at that. If there are no other questions, I think that we are done with our presentation. And
I would. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
There is one question in the chat. Do you have a team for those who are experiencing mental health challenges?
So that would be social workers on the team. I would say that most of our clients do have some mental illness. It's either here in New Mexico, our biggest struggles with parents are substance abuse and or mental illness. And so we are really working to address mental illness. And one of the biggest barriers that we run through here in New Mexico is that there just aren't enough providers. And it's frustrating and infuriating, but it's really where we're at. And so how can we support our clients without getting the help that they need? Like maybe we see a client that needs that inpatient care, but they're not, they have to be an active threat to themselves or someone else to be admitted here in New Mexico. And that's not always the case, right? But we can see that our clients are a danger to themselves, but it's not active, right? They are just not taking care of themselves. They're doing, they're not, right, they're using too much. They're stumbling into the street. I had a client get hit by a car because he was intoxicated. And that was his way of coping, right? He's self-medicating, but we can't get him into care because he didn't do that purposefully, if that makes sense. So it is a struggle here, unfortunately.
So there's some more questions in the chat.
Okay, sorry. How do you support a parent's fear when it comes to their mental health and losing their children? So we only deal with parents who have already lost their children who are already in the system. And that is, so that's like, so the bias around mental illness, right? We have a parent that's struggling with bipolar disorder, but she doesn't want to tell the department that because they're just going to use that against her. Right. And so it's having those open and honest conversations. And that's where we come in, as not sharing that information with the department until they're comfortable and allowing them to share their own information. But working with them on understanding that addressing the mental illness is what the department wants to see, right? They want to see you taking care of you so that you can take care of your children. And I oftentimes use the whole airplane thing with the mask dropping down, right? You want to put it on yourself first and then your kids, because you can't help your kiddos if you're not okay, right? So there's a lot of conversations that go on around that. Queva, you wanted to add some stuff?
We had another question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How do you support a parent's fear when it comes to their mental health and losing their children?
Yeah, I just answered that one.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So I just want to tap in on Andrea, because she is one of our powerhouse attorneys, and she can just talk a little bit about working with peer mentors and some of the things that, you know, she's seen as far as like the changing of dynamics of parents when a parent mentor is present.
Thanks, Queva. Yeah, for sure, it's a different dynamic because I think I said before this program, I would try to be that understanding person for my client, and I'm not, you know, and they knew that I wasn't understanding exactly what they were going through. Plus, my job is to tell them about the process and what's going to happen and what they need to know and what's important and what's not important. And a lot of times they were not in an emotional place to hear that. And I didn't know. And not that I didn't care about them or that I was trying to be a bully or anything. I think I'm normally trying to be very nice to my clients and understanding, but I didn't understand. And so I would tell them a lot of information that they couldn't hear at that moment. And what I see now with these teams is that I can look over to Queva and Queva will be like, no, that's not happening. And so it's such a good thing to know. And working with Gabiella, working with Kathryn, working with Queva and all of our parent mentors, it's made me more aware to look at nonverbal communication, to look at people's eyes, to look at what they're doing with their hands, because these ladies not only are they strong and have learned a lot from this program themselves, but they are teaching us to look at different things or look at things in a different way so that we can be better in our role. And so it's just such an amazing dynamic that is not easy. And there's a lot of learning going on, but it is making me a better attorney and helping me to help my clients in a better way. So I really appreciate the program and I really appreciate them so much.
To kind of tap in on what Andrea was saying, another example, we've learned that working with attorneys, they talk very legal. And it's like, what are you saying? And so I've, you know, as a professional, I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. And I know the parent is like, what? But we're all sitting there just like, and so, you know, and like I've stated in my story, I was scared to say, I don't understand what you're saying. So as a parent mentor, we take that, you know, Andrea, can you slow down? What does that mean? What are the steps to do that? You know, And so it is showing our attorneys that, okay, you're moving too fast. Slow down for us, take a break, recap. Can you give me an example of what that looks like? And so it's so awesome because our attorneys don't contest it. They don't say, well, we'll talk about it later. No, they're mindful and they're, okay, this is what this means. This is some steps that you can take. And so it's amazing to have a team that's willing to slow things down, not only for you as a parent mentor, but mainly for our parents so they can really understand it. And then we've noticed that when things are slowed down for those parents, they ask more questions to their attorney than they normally would, because now it makes sense to them.
Or sometimes, you know, you may have questions or not understand something, but you don't even know what you don't know to ask a good question about it. And so that's what I think we're seeing a lot too, is that they feel free to just say, I don't even know what question I have, but I don't know at all what you're talking about.
Exactly.
And that's okay too.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We really appreciate you giving us this platform and the ability to talk about our program and the great work that our parent mentors do. And we hope you all enjoy the conference.
Thank you all.